Candace Owens and Andrew Tate has an hour-long talk on the problems in America. And I'll say this, I usually never agree with Andrew Tate on pretty much anything, especially religion, but even I believe that he has a very valid point when it comes to this specific problem in America regarding freedom, okay? I really think you guys should watch this video because I think he makes a lot of sense, and I agree with him on a lot of the things that he said in this. Okay, let's go ahead and watch this video, react to it. Before we do me a quick favor. Hit that like button for the YouTube algorithm so that this video can get pushed out to more people like yourself. I truly appreciate you guys, and if you're not already subscribed to the channel, go ahead and tap that subscribe button, and let's hop into this video right now.
It's just so crazy.
It's Blasey Ford. 20 years ago,
yeah,
happened.
It's scary to me. It's actually very scary. The point I wanted to make on freedom is very interesting because you've experienced how the Matrix tries very hard to shut you up, and they try to intimidate you. They try and ruin your life and intimidate you. That's effectively what they try and do, and it takes a particularly stubborn type of person.
I am. I'm a Taurus. I'm just like...
I'm ready. I'm built different.
I'm built different.
I love being a thorn in their side much more than whatever they can do to me. Yeah. It's like... I'm in jail. I'm like, yeah, but I pissed them off.
Yeah.
Yes.
And they hate how happy we are, too.
Oh, completely.
And they're like, this shouldn't be the results.
They're miserable.
We've done the studies.
Yeah.
And once we do these psychological attacks and we psychologically terrorize them and their family, they should be fatigued and broken.
That's right.
And then we just emerge and we're like, hey.
Still standing.
Built different.
They can't stand it. But another one.
Real quick, he has a really good point. And this is something that I was thinking about when I first seen this video is that, especially when you're talking about the Western media, like American media, anytime they try to shut somebody up, anytime they try to take somebody out of the media, that's probably somebody who has some information that you may want to listen to, right? Because our media has never been on our side. They've always gave us propaganda to fit the narrative that they wanted to push out. So regarding him and even Candace Owens getting kicked off the Daily Wire, but as we see, the information that they're saying isn't bad. The people that are in charge just doesn't want us to hear this. So it's a good point.
LGBT whole thing, and the reason that they're marching in the street is, of course, they're trying to get everybody's children. But I also believe that it's part of propping up the false guise of freedom, right? Because what the West has built itself on is a very thin culture, and it's built itself on the idea that everybody can get rich. Nothing unifies us. If you look at here in Romania, even in this country, everyone has the same language, they have the same religion, they all watch the same TV shows growing up. Right? They have the same folk stories. They do the same thing at Christmas. Everyone has a similarity amongst them. So even if they disagree politically, there's a lot that unifies the people, which is why it's a safe society. I remember when we went to school when we were young, you'd go and you'd talk about the TV show from the night before that everybody watched. Everybody. And now we don't have that anymore, right? So the only thing that unifies people in the West, because there's nothing that unifies us. We don't agree on the flag. We don't agree on religion. We don't, not the same skin color. We don't speak the same language. There's nothing that unifies us except this idea that we can become rich. Go to the West, get rich, be nice to people. But now everyone's realizing you're not going to get rich.
And a lot of times we step on each other's toes to try to get rich too. We try to get rich, but we want to play the crab in a bucket, and we want to keep people lower than us, and we get jealous when we see someone rising up. That's also an issue in America, especially in some communities that I've been in, unfortunately.
And this is where the problems are coming, because they're realizing the American dream's a sham, and it's a lie. So we have this very thin culture. And we say these other countries, well, they have thicker cultures. Their cultures aren't thin, and a thick culture is good for the cohesion of society, but they're not free, and we're free. And then I sit and think, well, if you speak against authority in the West, they teach you a lesson, so you're not actually free. So how do they prop up this false idea of freedom? What they do is they put the freaks to the front. So what they do is they push the freaks to the front. So they say, look, this person chopped their off. We're free. In other countries, you can't chop your off. It's like, okay, that's fine. But I am not free to do anything important, like speak against power, like speak against AIPAC.
You're free to hurt yourself.
You're free to do dumb. You're not free to actually talk about anything important ever. And I feel like one of the reasons why they're promoting all of this degeneracy is to try and keep this bullshit idea of freedom alive. Because if they took that away, you'd wake up and realize, oh, okay, this is actually no different than most of the world. And I'm not going to attack only the West for this. You can't talk against Putin and Russia, and you can't talk against Islam and Saudi, and you can't talk against the king of Laos. I'm sure you're going to pay a price. That's how the world actually is. We're the only ones who are lying about it. Sitting and saying, no, you can't talk, you can, we're free. The truth is you can't talk against authority at all. And to try and distract everyone and keep this bull dream of freedom alive, they're going to push freaks to the front, which is why I think that the freaks are getting more and more outlandish because people are starting to realize that the freedom isn't real and they're starting to feel the cage and close. So as people are starting to sit there and realize, wait, maybe I don't live in a free country. Maybe my government is owned. Maybe they are all homosexual pedophiles. Maybe I am paying too much taxes just to blow up children. Maybe nobody has my interests at heart. Maybe my elections aren't real. Maybe my children are being brainwashed. Maybe my streets are unsafe because they refuse to police them properly. Maybe all these drugs could be stopped. Maybe, wait. He's chopped his off.
There's a man in a dress.
It's free. Freedom. And I really think
You could never have a
Does he? I mean, he has a point, man. And I started pondering on what really makes America free. What makes us different from other countries that we think that we have such a profound amount of freedom from other countries that we consider to be more reserved in what they allow to happen in their country. And I really don't know. Only thing I can think of is that we are like he said, LGBTQ, how people are now free to choose who they want to marry, how they want to dress, and going into different bathrooms, and then, men going into women's sports, stuff like that. And then it almost seems as if the only things that they really allow us to do are things that go against the norm of society, or things that are degenerate that actually harms us. That seems like the only freedoms that we get. When I think about Kanye West, they pretty much canceled Kanye West for anti-Semitism. And I think that they created a narrative that made it seem like he's crazy and he hates, Jewish people. But I don't really think that was the case, especially after watching the Candace Owens interview with Kanye West.
I want to go there. That sounds like, I don't want men wearing dresses.
And that's the most crazy thing about it, is that trying to show this freedom, they're actually showing to anybody with a brain things we don't even want to see, right? You can take that away. That's fine. Let's take that away. Another thing about talking against government, because I was talking to somebody about this, and they said, okay, well, then why are you saying America's so bad when you can't talk against government anywhere else? And I said, well, the reason for that is because if you're in Russia, you know who your boss is, right? I don't personally disagree with Putin, so I wouldn't want to talk against Putin. But if you live in Russia and you do want to talk against power, you know who you're talking against. Our biggest problem here in the West is that we don't even truly, really know who we're talking against. I know that the LGBT homo mafia are in charge somewhere, which I know that's clear because they can in the Senate building and nothing happens. So that's obvious.
That's
but it's
wild.
like, who? And we're spending all our time going down rabbit holes of Israel or Big Farm or military industrial complex or Globo Homo, or you're like, who is even in charge of this mess? If they were to say it's this person, and this person, those people would be in a lot of trouble very quickly. So they've removed their attachment to anything. So there's not even any accountability anymore in the West. That's what's truly scary. I'm just asking, I would like to know who's in charge here. I'd like to just wake up and say, you walk into a restaurant and everything's manager. Like, why is there cockroaches? What's going on? I'd like to just go, who's the manager of the West now? Who's actually in charge of any of this mess anymore? At least in other countries, you get the good fortune of knowing who your boss is. Right?
Yeah, I keep trying to figure out why I'm supposed to hate Putin. I'm like, okay, so he doesn't let people desecrate churches. You can't just take your boobs out as a woman and say you're protesting and stand on top of a statue of Jesus Christ. I think I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
I know I'm supposed to be hating this. You're telling me this is authoritarian. But what you guys are doing, locking up people for peacefully protesting on January 6th, hunting grandmothers, is not authoritarian.
That's right.
Because women are allowed to be whores.
Yeah.
I'm like, everything about this, if that's going to be the boss, that makes more sense to me than the people, the deep state, the homosexual agenda, the pedophilia that's being promoted. The pedophiles are allowed to write articles and protect other pedophiles. Sounds a lot better to me to have him as my boss than the, like you said, the invisible bosses, or maybe one boss who knows that we're fighting and we see that they're perverse.
Yeah.
And I totally agree with you.
Yeah, he's a competent nationalist.
Dog, she eating right there, man. That's crazy. That's a fact, man. You know what? They have painted a picture about Putin being this extremely evil man that is authoritarian. He's very authoritative, and he's just they created a bad narrative about him. But I never really looked into Putin's policies. I never really looked into how he runs his country and what he allows and what he doesn't allow. I haven't really looked into it too much, but that's intriguing, and I kind of want to look into it because I want to see, because that makes a lot of sense. That if Putin just wants his country to be ran and operated efficiently with good citizens that don't break the law whenever they get a chance to, and they don't tear down and destroy things. If he just wants a good country and he's doing what he can to make sure that his country is good as far as the people are in line, the schools are good, the health care is good, there's nothing wrong with that. It's his country. It's not like he's doing things like Stalin and Hitler and even the dude in North Korea. It's not like he's doing stuff like that. Like I've never heard of Russia, the people in Russia having a desire to leave Russia to come to America. Never heard of that before. That's a great point by Candace. That is a great point.
Which is what anybody with a brain should want for their country. You should want a competent nationalist who puts your interest above the interests of anybody else.
Biden showering with his 4-year-old daughter, and the whole mainstream media colluding to hide the diary. We have Hunter Biden smoking crack and sleeping with people that look way too young, talking about incest on text messages, and the entire mainstream media colluding to cover these stories. Yeah, no, I think I want to try the other boss if I can, just for a second. I just want to try to work there for a week and see what happens.
Absolutely. So and you're completely right. We say, Russia's not a free country because, you can't do LGBT insanity. And that's the only thing they can really come at them for. They can't come at them for, they've arrested 1/10 of the people the UK have arrested for Facebook posts.
Wow.
So I think Tucker highlighted this. In the UK, I think it was in 2022, they arrested 4,500 people for their social media comments. In Russia, it was 400. So the UK is 10 times worse for policing speech than Russia. Free country, right? But Russia's not free because we don't allow them to, they're not allowed to poison the children, so they're not free. So it's actually the thing that's most scary about this freak show is the reason they're pushing it so hard to the front is because they're trying to keep this imaginary balloon of freedom and the American dream and all this garbage ahead because we have a very thin culture. Nothing's unifying us in the West besides the idea that somehow we're free and that somehow we'll one day get rich. That's it.
Dang it, man. I agree with this dude a lot, man, right now. He's making a lot of sense, man. Like, let me know if I'm wrong. And I'm not saying that, like, when it comes to religion, when it comes to God, I think that he is not the person to go to, okay? He's definitely not the person to go to. When it comes to women and how to treat women and stuff like that, I've heard a lot of things about him and things that he's said that's kind of borderline, like, tripping, if I'm being frank. But as far as, like, the government goes and as far as, like people that are trying to paint pictures against us, the media and stuff like that. This man he has valid points. He has valid points. We have to understand that the media is not on our side. And so we want to be able to get the full stories and the real pictures and things that's going on in society. And we cannot get it from them because they have a narrative that they want to paint to make us think a certain way so that we follow the way that they want us to go and not the way that we want to go, if that makes sense.
And that's what's so scary. You know what I found interesting about American culture? You know the eclipse that was recent? There was an eclipse where the solar eclipse was like a few months ago. Can't remember. It was going through a few states. And I was reading on Twitter, they were talking about how the eclipse is coming and you need to be careful because it's going to be dark for 2 minutes and beware of crime and all this shit. And I sat there thinking, American culture is so thin that if it gets dark in the middle of the day for 2 minutes, there's going to be crime? People are going to rob cars? Is that how close we are to apocalypse? Is it that bad? Like, even we talk about Ukraine-Russia war, even though I agree with Putin, I think he's completely justified. The Ukrainians and the Ukrainian government, who I have distaste for, but the Ukrainian people, they're still in lines buying food. It's war. They're in a line with money buying food during war.
Couldn't be America. Could not be America. And I'm keeping it real. It couldn't be America. We've already seen it. Hurricane Katrina. We've seen it. COVID. We've seen how people get toilet paper. I mean, did y'all really need to buy all the toilet paper off Amazon? Really? You know who I'm talking. If you did, I'm talking about you, okay? We've seen how America can get when things get crazy. We do not keep our bearing. You got a point. That's another point.
America, it'd be looting, it would be fires, it would be free-for-all within 2 minutes. We are on the absolute precipice of societal breakdown all of the time. And the only thing that's keeping it together is everyone sitting around going, don't worry, you'll be rich one day, you'll be rich one day, while the political class just rape the tax base for as long as they can before they disappear into the sunset. How long until this all goes wrong? I mean, it's an interesting thing to observe from afar. It's super interesting.
Yeah, I think about it every day. I tell people I have an apocalyptic mindset. I've learned to grow vegetables.
Yeah.
My husband hunts, he fishes. We're going to be good in the middle of the forest and we're going to survive. And you better think deeply about who you would want. I say this all the time, in your tribe. And you're going to realize that it all comes down to basic survival skills.
Yep.
Can you hunt? Can you shoot? Can you fight? Can you grow food?
Yep.
Can you take after the children? And the majority of Westerners are ill-equipped for those things. They're like, well, I can receive the New York Times and read it and comprehend what they're telling me to believe, and that's going to be problematic. And so, in conclusion, I would like you to speak to the straight homos. Because the straight homos, they need some guidance, you know? They need some guidance. They do.
It's
they
true.
think they hate you, but deep down they know that there's something that you're saying that really what they hate is what was inside of themselves. There's like a cowardice within them that they hate, and so they have to attack you. And so we're going to get free advice. You don't even have to sign up for Hush University. You don't even have to buy a Candace cup. You're going to get free advice, all you straight homos out there, from Andrew Tate, and you can just implement this into your life.
Candace is OD for that, yo. She is wild. And I watched this entire I think I watched dang near the entire thing. Candace is edgy, man. I'll say that. She's very edgy. As far as even like regarding her faith. She's very edgy. And I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. I don't think it's a faith thing. I don't think it's a thing that she like saying she's not saved or she's out of the will of God or whatever like that. It's not that. It's more so, it's like Peter slicing the ear for Jesus type of edgy. Like, it's good, but it also can be bad at times. You know what I mean? That's how I feel about her after watching this interview.
Andrew Tate, take it away.
Sure. All right, let me try and think of something which is going to be inspirational. So,
I'm going to whoop your ass.
I should say,
My point. That's very edgy for, I think she's Catholic. Even a Catholic person to say that is extremely edgy. I don't even know what the right word is. But that's like borderline. You're kind of on the fence, right? Because Anyways, let's finish this off.
the reason they're a coward in the first place is because they're afraid of confrontation. But I want everyone at home to understand, especially if you're a man, that confrontation is certain and it's always going to be around. If you're a king, there's never been a point in human history where you were a king with an empire where people were not trying to take your empire from you. And if you're not a king with an empire, then you're a pawn in somebody else's empire and you're going to have your head chopped off for some reason anyway. Confrontation is certain. If you try to avoid confrontation, you're going to end up in confrontation with yourself. The reason these straight homos are so desperately sad, the reason they have ADHD and anxiety and depression, the reason they're sitting at home, even if they don't admit to these ailments, wondering why they're so unhappy all the time, is because you're fighting an internal battle. Your monologue is different in your mind from what your spirit truly wants. You want to be respected. You want to be strong. You want to stand up for what you know is right. You want to be a man, and you're just too afraid to engage the enemy. So you're going to self-destruct. You're going to turn on yourself. There's a fire inside of you. There's a fire inside of absolutely every man, and you can either direct it at your enemy and do your very best to destroy him, or it's going to burn inside of you and eat you alive. You have to make a choice. The cowardice that you feel that prevents you from engaging the enemy is the biggest betrayal, because now you're just engaging yourself. The battle's certain either way. So I strongly recommend you find who the enemy is and direct your efforts towards their destruction, as opposed to sitting there allowing yourself to self-immolate.
I think it's actually very sage advice. There is a fire in all of the men, and it has to be directed in the right way. Well, Andrew, it has been a pleasure.
I don't know about all that, but I will end it with this, okay? Every man needs to follow Christ. Every man needs to be a leader, and every man needs to be led by Jesus. If you believe in God, Jesus Christ, if you follow the commandments of the Bible, everything else will be added onto you. You will not be a coward. The God does not like cowards. You will not be a thief. You will not be slanderous, or at least you will work towards not being these things. You will be brave. You will trust in God. You will follow his commandments when it comes to marriage and how to be a husband and to be a hard worker and to leave an inheritance for your kids. Literally everything else falls into line when you give your life solely and completely to Jesus Christ. That's what I think every man should think about, every man should do. I think that will change the country. I think that will bring unity. I think that will make us closer. I think that will make us stronger. I think we will be a better country if we get back to God. I don't even know if we had God before. I think that was just a saying. I think they just said that. If we follow Christ, we will be good. That is it. Let me know what you guys think about this video in the comment section, okay? If you're new to the channel and you like what you see, I encourage you, hit that subscribe button, okay? And hit the post notification bell so you do not miss another video. All right, my name is Aaron Page. I will catch y'all on the next video. Until next time, I'm out.